Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video, I'm in a mood to play. So I'm going to play palette bingo with these two Ensley Reign palettes. One is the Harvest Moon palette, the other one is the Cold Moon palette. So if you want to see what look I create, then please keep on watching. So because these two Ensley Reign palettes have 21 shades in them, we're going to create randomly. I think let's start with 4 shades, and if it is shimmer heavy, then we'll go to 6. Okay, how's that plan? So let's begin. Alexa, say a random number between 1 and 21.
Here's a number between 1 and 21. It's 12.
12. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have transformation. So that's good. We have one matte. So let's do that. It's a gray. Not a big fan of gray, but we'll see. Alexa, tell me a random number between 1 and 21.
Here's a number between 1 and 21. It's 19.
19. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. I mean, this shade, I feel like that's the least interesting shade in that palette. But we can roll with it. That can be like our inner corner shade. I think we are leaning more towards 6 shades, okay? But let's see what happens with Harvest Moon. Alexa, pick a random number between 1 and 21.
Here's a number between 1 and 21. It's 6.
6. So this one, Sparkling Cider. I really love this shade. It's like a green, gray, purple. It's a very interesting shade. So that's very nice. Have you ever seen, I think I've said this in the previous video also, whenever I do a random generator thing, always green happens to me. Always, okay? Always. Alexa, pick a random number between 1 and 21.
Here's a number between 1 and 21. It's 9.
9. So 7, 8, 9. So flannel, which is also a green. See? See? I told you. I don't know. There you go. So definitely a shimmer heavy palette, and I don't think this is good enough for me to like deepen out any look. So we're going to play with these 4 shades, and I might pick up another shade just to deepen out my outer corners. I want this to be fun, but I also want this to be my way too. Okay, so let's begin. So I'm going to first start off with that shade, which is Transformation, which is that gray matte shade from the Cold Moon palette. So let's take that, and I'm gonna take that on the majority of my eyelid because I want this to be the background of the eye look. Such a beautiful shade. It's definitely a gray, but it has like that taupiness, purpliness to it, which I really love. And I've never mixed both of these palettes together, Harvest Moon and Cold Moon. And I love both of these palettes. If you've seen my palette ranking, you know how much I love these palettes. I'll link it in the iCards above for you guys if you've not seen my palette ranking for last year. Because man oh man, Ensley Reign definitely killed it last year. I cannot wait to see what they have coming for us this year. But stay tuned. Okay, so once we have that shade all across the eyelid, I'm pretty sure I'm going to deepen out my outer corners with something. But for now, let's tie up the lower lash line too with the same shade Transformation. So I'm just going to take that same thing on the lower lash line too. I was scared that this would be a shimmer heavy palette bingo, just because both of these palettes have amazing shimmers and very multi-chromy kind of shades. So I don't know like what to expect out of all these shimmers. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's finish off with this palette with that Kalinkatzaros, this silver shade, and I'm gonna place that in my inner corners, because that's like an easy choice. I generally use that shade for my inner corners, and it's a very beautiful inner corner shade. It's bright, it's not too much, and it's amazing. I really like that. Okay, now for the Harvest Moon palette, I'm going to first take that sparkling cider shade. Before we apply anything, let me just apply a little bit of Glimmer Grasp from Unearthly Cosmetics onto my eyelid, just so that everything stick onto the eyelids very nicely, because the flannel shade that we are going to apply in the inner third is definitely more textured, so I don't want any like fallout or anything. But first let's start off with that shade Sparkling Cider, which is that green gray purpley shade. It's a very beautiful shade. So I'm gonna take that on the half of the eyelid, I would say. Look how stunning that shade is. Actually, let me use a brush. Right there. Majority of the eyelid, I would say. Just like that. Okay, now once we have that shade, I'm gonna dip into that flannel shade that we got. I'm gonna just take it on my fingers and then just apply that on the 1/3 of the eyelid. Look how stunning that is. Superbly dimensional and sparkly. It's beautiful. I'm just gonna melt it with that Sparkling Cider shade and just blend it across. Really, really pretty. Now once we have that, let's take a outer corner brush. I should take the shade Phantom, I feel like. Just let's create some interest. And I'm gonna take that Phantom shade on the outer corner, just right there, and then just melt it with that Sparkling Cider shade. Just taking it in the outer corner so that it melts with the other shimmer shade and doesn't seem like bare. Going back into that Transformation shade that we first used as our transition shade and just blending it with that Phantom shade that we used. Phantom, right? Yeah, Phantom shade that we used. Just melting it together. Just like that. Just also going to take that Phantom shade once again and just blending it around the outer corners of the lower lash line too. And I'm just going to finish off this eye with some liner and mascara, and I'll get right back. And that's my final look. I really love the way how it turned out. I would have definitely not paired up all these things if it was not a palette bingo. Of course, I took my leverage of picking this shade and these were like picked out for me. But I feel like this complements really well. Obviously, I could have gone more monochromatic if instead of this shade, I would have picked that green shade, which was that Hibernate shade. But then I thought that it might be like super monochromatic. But I really love the way that burgundy is like peeking through with that green, just because of this shade, the Sparkling Cider shade, that definitely has like that purpley burgundiness coming throughout it also. I really love it. Really love it. And I paired up my lips with this Huda Beauty lipstick in the shade Gold Digger. So I felt like that would complement this green eyes really well. But that's all for today, guys. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And do let me know, do you have any of these palettes in the collection? Have you ever tried Ensley Reign Cosmetics or not? I do have a code with them, which is Smithy Sony, that would save you 10% off. If you love shifty multi-chromey eyeshadows, this palette is right up your alley. Obviously, Harvest Moon is more like fall theme, like warm tone color stories, but again, full of beautiful multi-chrome shades. And Cold Moon is definitely more like cooler tone, everyday kind of a shade, but again, multi-chrome shades are to another level in this. Really love it. I actually do have another palette also from them, Lands of Enchantment palette. Again, drool worthy palette. I have a ton from Ensley Reign Cosmetics. I have that Twisted Tea Party palette, but I felt like I should play with these two palettes today, and I love it, love it. But yes, but that's all for today. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.